Chaps, so we're at the Etihad. What do you make of the charges against City on Monday?
Here you go. It is what it is. If they get charged, they get charged, but they've got a good fight on their hands. I'm not bothered. It is what it is. I'll still support them. They're a great team. Great to come to the game every week. It is what it is. I'm really not bothered. If they get charged, they'll bounce back. Simple as that. They'll just bounce back.
I think personally as well, it's obviously we took the Premier League to court with something else which could actually help us with the charges. But what I would actually say is, if anything does happen, watch out for the rest of the Premier League, because if we're not squeaky clean, nobody else is.
Do you think this would have happened if it wasn't Manchester City? Do you think the success is a driving factor?
Yeah. Success is definitely a driving factor. I think there's been a lot of jealousy in the past. Things like when Alex Ferguson used to say, "Not in my lifetime," with the noisy neighbours and everything, and then suddenly, guess what? We're sort of catching them up and getting this success. Certainly, when I speak to a lot of people, they get very jealous. They focus a lot on, we have different clubs now across, and we've built an infrastructure, and they seem to spend a lot of time looking at what we're doing rather than what they're actually doing, which I think is quite fantastic as a City fan, because we watched them in the bad times.
But they didn't feel like the bad times, did they?
They didn't.
To Macclesfield for 28 hours.
No, we did. I think the one for me, because we're from Bury and we played Bury and we got beat 1-0 and we're travelling back with Bury fans, and I'm thinking this is bizarre. And I think we went down that year as well, so we'd gone even further down. And it was like, I think with the guys nowadays don't see what we had to put up with, and I think when you're a City fan, it's in your blood, so it doesn't matter. They can charge us as much as they want, and they can expel us or do whatever they want, and we'll still be here week in, week out.
That's brilliant.
Nearly 20 years now.
20 years. So you've seen a very changed Manchester City.
Absolutely.
On Monday, the hearing starts and some financial charges against City.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on?
I mean, there's only so much we know about it. I know people like to give us a bit of stick for it, but I think City have got good lawyers on their side, and I think we'll get away with it. I don't think we've done anything wrong. Obviously, I know it is going to court. We've got 115 charges, but I don't think we'll get charged with anything. I think we've got the right team on our side.
Do you think this would have happened if it was another club? Say, for example, a mid-table club who hadn't been as successful as City?
Well, I know we've seen some teams with the point deductions last season, so you can say maybe they've had their due. But 115 charges, there's no other club that's been charged with anything like that. And, United the other day, they've come out with their loss of last season, and they've not had any charges like that, have they? So no, I don't think they would have done. I think it is something against City, maybe. Little old City.
What do you make of the charges that City are facing at the moment?
I'm not unduly worried, because as fans you can't really do a great deal about it, can you? And at the end of the day, we just hope everything gets sorted out, not just for us, but for all the other football clubs as well. It's just gone on for too long, and I think people just want it all to finish now and get resolved, and then that's the end of it. But I'm not convinced it will be the end of it, to be honest. So.
Do you think does it feel as if City have been targeted a little more than anybody else?
Obviously, yeah. And I think Newcastle have suffered as a result as well, because all these new rules that they brought in when Newcastle was taken over to stop them from similar things. So what it's done is it's restricted all the other football clubs as well, not just City and Newcastle. Everyone's paying the price for this now.
Exactly. What you notice with I hate to use the word smaller clubs, but the way that they were having to sell the best players to try.
Well, they're selling academy players, and that's not right. When you put an infrastructure in place like City's, it's one of the best academies in the world, and if you have to sell players just to, keep within the rules, especially academy players, it's wrong. It's totally wrong.
How do you see an outcome? What would you expect? Not what you hope. How do you think it will go? 115 charges is a lot to go.
Yeah, but to be fair though, if you break it down, it's not 115 charges. It's 3 major things with sub-charges within them. So until it comes to a conclusion, I don't think anyone really knows. There's a lot of people who would like to see City relegated, just like they would like Chelsea to have had no money under Abramovich. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're a fan, right, and you haven't got the money and you're struggling, you're bound to feel like that. But if you're like us, where we had nothing, and we've suddenly been given this, you know, and we've enjoyed all the fruits of it, it's brilliant, fantastic. But we can't control what's happened in 2010, 11 and 12. It's just not something that we can control. We're just fans at the end of the day, like Liverpool, like your Evertons, your people, clubs that have been around for years. We're just fans, and we'll always go and watch them, whatever happens. You know what I mean?
How long have you been following City?
65. 1965, that is.
I was going to say you don't look old enough.
Yeah, just about.
So you've been through everything. This club's had so many different things thrown at it.
Yep.
What do you make of the latest charge, the hearing, and then reading all of the media speculation about, they're going to be devoted to the Northern Premiership, whatever. What are your thoughts on it?
It would suit some for that to happen. Since the Mansour takeover, the investment that's been put into the club, the area, this part of Manchester is enormous. And Man City set themselves limits on what they spend within transfer windows, on values of players. In recent times that's gone up a bit when Grealish came on board, but other clubs see City coming along, they bump up the price somewhat. And as far as other charges go, there's nothing more that Sunderland would like than to see City diminished in some way, because it takes their ability to compete. And the reason City compete is they build good teams. We've always had good teams. We've always had good training. The training ground now is producing talent that is unequalled, is wanted by numerous clubs, and big players now want to come here. We're getting the best. With the charges, without a doubt, there's some jealousy in there. The 9 clubs that Pep will often refer to. And rather than as it would always be deemed, the red sides of the governing or the government within the Premier League has been an issue for a long time. There's been some unfairness with the financial fair play in the first season when we got caught out by it, when we shouldn't really have done them, and the City didn't challenge it. They could have challenged it. Maybe if they had challenged it, we'd have had a bit more bite and a bit more clout. Our chairman heads up with the leagues, and it's about time that people understood that City are here. There's just too many people would be probably criminally involved to organise something of the magnitude that they're being accused of. A lot of it is going to be based on what English law allows, so some of it I can see it being thrown out, and it's sad that it's come to this.
Do you think City will be found, because with 115 charges it's difficult to be absolved of everything, so to speak?
Well, they were.
What's the term? If you throw enough shit, something will stick.
Well, I suppose the one thing that they will try and get to stick is whether or not we help them with the investigation. And it always seems a bit of a strange one there that you allow people to put you down when it's up to the investigators to find that information, whether you hand them that information or not. But, we got fined for that with the CAS ruling, and fair enough. If that's what they want to do, then that's what they did. But the UEFA's was overturned. A lot of it, they said, was time barred. It'll be time barred under English law as well, a lot of the things. And based on hacked emails, when there will be context either side of those emails, again, it'll come down to whether or not you can believe that the level that this would have to go to in organisations, whether they be accountancy firms, heads of countries, it's just too big to be credible for the sake of a football club.
So how do you see the outcome? I know you haven't heard the evidence. Haven't seen it.
We don't know. I mean, we've just had this case come through that we've not heard the answers to yet, as to with whether or not the rules will be changed going back, as to what a club can do with sponsorships, etc. Why they haven't come out with the ruling on that yet, we don't know. But as far as what the punishments, or whether we'll be found guilty or innocent, or we've just got to wait and see. That's all we can do, is just wait and see.
Are you optimistic?
We're City. We're always going to be optimistic. We've been at the lowest of the lows, and we're enjoying the highest of the highs at the present time.
Did you endure the lowest of the lows? Since 1965, there's been a few.
There has been a few, without a doubt. But we're not alone in that. Other clubs have gone through that as well. You know, United had their dark days. Liverpool have had their dark days. And
still have it there.
Yeah, which is sad. We have a relative as a shareholder with Everton. You know, and it's a club that's been around for an awful long time. But you look at Newcastle. You know, they've got, if you want to call it, state ownership, and yet they've been capped with rule changes. There's a lot of money floating around in the game. Our ownership isn't just down to oil money. You know, we've got Chinese investment, we've got Silicon Valley investment, with 20% odd in the shares. These people are not daft. They're not going to invest in a company that they think is going to damage their reputations, that's going to have a knock-on effect. They wouldn't come on board if they didn't think we were good, if they didn't think they could trust us. And as I say, which is that Silver Lake, there's just too much invested, and too many people would have to be involved. It would be the biggest crime of the 20th century almost. It feels laughable, but there's a process, and they want to take us through it. And we'll see. And this is, it's not as easy to resolve as Everton's or Leicester's or Forest's, because of, you know, there was admissions of wrongdoing, if you like, that they were out with the figures. But clubs having to sell players to maintain their financial standing, and put themselves at an inferior rate to where they were in the previous season, it just doesn't seem right. Owners should be able to invest how they want to invest. And it isn't, as I say, with City, it's not just here, you know, at the Etihad. It's everywhere. It's everywhere around the area. They've done so much. It's a global, it's a global, City Group is global. And that's what I think has offended so many of those that want to see us down. You know, look at Tebas. You know, he hasn't got a good word to say about us. And I don't think Pep has much of a word to say about him either. So it's a lot of envy. There always has been. But we've done it in a way that was restrained. We've built teams. We've had to renew teams. We're aging players. They'll be renewed, but from within a lot of those. And you've only got to look that Pep hasn't been Player of the Month for how long? 21 months. You know, what does he have to do? to be player of the month with a 12 game winning streak and still not be. You know, bringing teams that can do what they've done, players that can do what they've done. When you had the De Bruyne coming in, and we had the old Merson, 50-odd million euro, can't see what he's going to do. What's Haaland done? And they've blown these people out of the water. They've made them, grovelling apologies almost, because they just don't understand what goes on here and what the team and what the plan is to build something that's sustainable and financially sustainable. It needs to be.